I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi.
Yes. Guys and girls and guys, gather round and feast your eyes. I promise you all, you just can't lose when you have your own supply of Ivan Ooze. We are talking about the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. And I'm pretty sure this is the only Power Ranger thing that Disney still owns. I'm not sure about that. But it still has the 20th Century Fox logo in front of it. So I'm counting it.
We're counting it, damn it.
It's going to be in that gray area where we're not quite sure, but we're going with it anyway, like Brave Little Toaster or something like that. I mean, we've
keeping our little mousy mitts on it.
Or, well, Disney owns Marvel. We can do like Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man, or Disney owns Lucasfilm. We can do Indiana Jones. So, Power Rangers. Everyone knows what Power Rangers is. Teenagers, spandex, rubber suit monsters, giant robots. You know it. And you and I, Kiki, we were there when it started. Power Ranger Mania, 1993. It was everywhere. They couldn't keep the toys on the shelf. Highways were backed up just to meet the actors. It was...
Yeah.
Were you there from the start, or was it one of those, hey, you got to watch this schoolyard kind of conversations?
It was one of those... It was on in the afternoon in the middle of, it was the Fox Kids lineup thing. So it was on in the middle of other things I was watching. And I was too lazy to turn the channel. And it was like, oh, I like martial arts stuff. I like goofy things with monsters. I have no idea what this nonsense is, but it looks like my kind of nonsense.
When you're watching Batman and Tiny Toons and X-Men, hey, let's watch some Power Rangers too.
Yeah, it's good guys beat up bad guys, and it's bright and colorful, and you're in that general age range. But it was absolutely unlike anything I had ever seen before, because I wasn't an anime kid. It wasn't... I wasn't... I'm not really sure what the timeline was, but if it was the appropriate timeline for, Dragon Ball Z and, that kind of stuff, like, whatever that kind of thing was, I wasn't into that. So I never really got the anime Japanese end of it. I mean, Godzilla and stuff I got, yeah. I would be a couple of years later introduced to... a friend of mine would introduce me to a little bit of anime, Ranma. She would introduce me to, and a couple of things like that. But I would never be a big anime kid or anything. I never got into Pokemon when it became the thing. I found out about Pokemon as a thing through South Park. Their jokes about Pokemon was how I found out Pokemon existed. So that's kind of how out of the loop I was. But Power Rangers was kind of my first introduction to the sort of Super Sentai idea. Mecha robots and that sort of culture.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started seeing like other Japanese shows, I was like, oh, they took the idea from Power Rangers, not realizing like, no, you dork, of course not. This is Power Rangers took the idea from the Japanese, like everything, you know. So that's how out of the loop I was.
Yeah, so since this will likely be the only Power Ranger episode we do, we need to go the quick and dirty history of the whole thing. Toy Galaxy does a lot of in-depth videos on this stuff. If you're more of a season by season guy, definitely, if you're not watching them, definitely watch Linkar's History of Power Rangers videos. But here is the quick and dirty one, the quick and dirty history, as best as I can describe it. 1975, Japanese production company Toei creates the first Super Sentai series, Go Ranger. The show would run constantly. It runs to this very day, resetting every year, new characters, new costumes, new monsters, new robots, everything new, because we need to sell toys. Except for 1978, where Toei would partner with Marvel to produce the Japanese Spider-Man series. And just saying that makes me wish the Japanese Spider-Man was on Disney+. What do we have to do to make that happen? Speaking of Marvel, fast forward to 1981, Stan Lee moves from New York to Los Angeles to work on the television side of Marvel. At the same time, the fifth Super Sentai series, Sun Vulcan, is airing in Japan, and Stan kind of falls in love with this show. He wants to bring the show to America, either dubbing the show over or, in this amazing idea, replacing the Japanese actors with American actors. I don't know if that would work. But try as he might, no network was interested in Stan Lee's Sun Vulcan. Sad. Fast forward again to 1984. Hayao Saban of Saban Entertainment is in Japan looking for new shows to bring over to the West bring new shows over to a Western audience, and discovers the 8th Super Sentai series, Bioman. He takes an interest in the show, gets the rights, films a pilot, amazingly replacing the Japanese actors with American actors. What a concept! But again, try as he might, no network was interested. For both Stan and Saban, network said it was too different, it was too foreign. They didn't think an American audience would like a show that originally started in Japan. Fast forward to 1992, Saban has a great success on the Fox network with X-Men the Animated Series. Head of Fox Kids, Margaret Lynch, asked Saban, "If you got anything else?" And Saban pulls out the Bioman pilot, and something clicked in her head. Because, see, 10 years earlier, Margaret Lynch was working at Marvel and saw Sun Vulcan with Stan Lee. Saw the potential in that show. Unfortunately, no one else did. Lynch greenlights Saban's pilot, which is renamed Power Rangers. A new pilot is filmed using footage from the 16th Super Sentai series, Zyuranger, and Power Rangers is here. August 1993, Power Rangers debuts on Fox Kids. Instant hit, instant success. Power Ranger Mania was everywhere, dethroning the previous king of Saturday morning, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry.
And really, I was already a big Ninja Turtles fan, so this was, a lateral move in that sense,
for teenage heroes, kind of
using martial arts to do weird mutant creatures, and then it's like, well, there's 5 teenagers using martial arts to beat up weird mutants. It's like, it's kind of a lateral move.
And really, 1993 was the big year because that was the same year that Jurassic Park came out. So Dinomania was everywhere. So now we have a TV show with the martial arts action of Ninja Turtles with the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was a really interesting thing. And of course, it still had the weird pseudo teen slang Whereas the Ninja Turtles, had all the like tubular and whatever. The Power Rangers had all their, they had to put morphin into everything, and then
More phenomenal.
Yeah.
So yeah, Power Rangers explodes. It becomes the most popular show on TV at the time. So of course we're going to make a movie. We got to make a movie because we need to capitalize on the success of Power Rangers. And a movie is set to be filmed in the break of the filming of the second Power Ranger season. This is where the problems start. Because now these actors who were complete unknowns, who got the roles that they got by auditioning, you have martial artists, you have gymnasts, that's what they were, and now these are actors on the most popular TV show in America. Now you're going to make these people movie stars. 3 of the actors said, hey, we're on the highest rated TV show in America, and we're getting paid below minimum wage. They could go to freaking McDonald's or Starbucks and make more money than they would be making on Power Rangers. But Power Rangers was cheap because half the show was already filmed for them. They just actors just talk in the camera and will replace with the footage.
Yeah, it's important to note that they filmed this as a non-union show.
Yeah.
So they got these people as very young. For most of them, it was either like their first acting job or really close to it. They were gotten for their ability to do martial arts or gymnastics or whatever, so that you could buy that outside the costume, they had the skills that the Japanese actors had inside the costumes. And so when they were doing public appearances, they could do a few of the martial arts moves and be like, hey, look, we are in fact, the real deal. And also, to keep things cheap, they didn't do union, and that means that they didn't pay them in accordance with union rules. And suddenly they were the biggest thing in the world, and everybody was mobbing them every place they went. And a few of them went, wait a minute, why are we not getting paid in accordance with the fact that we're the biggest thing on the planet right now?
And being told we're going to make a movie.
Yeah.
So not only are these on the hottest show on TV, the biggest show on TV, now they're going to be movie stars.
And it wasn't just that they were going to be movie stars, it's that during your hiatus on your TV series, you now don't get to spend it resting from your TV series, which is very physical and requires, a lot of stunts and everything. But now you have to spend your break time filming a movie. And unlike the TV show, the movie was not using any Japanese footage. They were going to be required to do everything themselves for the first time, including being in the Power Rangers costumes.
And we're filming this halfway around the world. Last week we talked about an animated movie that took place in Sydney. This movie was filmed in Sydney.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have you fly halfway around the world and do all of that. So we have 3 of the actors: Austin St. John, who played Jason the Red Ranger, Walter Jones, who played Zach the Black Ranger, and Tui Trang, who played Trini the Yellow Ranger. All of them made their complaints to their agent. At the time, all 3 of them had the same agent. And the agent told them, well, if they're not going to pay you movie star quality pay to film a movie, then you should just walk off set. What are they going to do? Fire half the cast of the biggest show on TV? And that's exactly what they did. So now they had to recast half the Power Rangers for the TV show and get them ready to do this movie.
And I want to point out that I was a regular viewer of this of this show, excuse me, when this film came out. I went to this movie and was like, where's my favorite Power Ranger? Why is my favorite Power Ranger not in this movie? Because it was an absolute surprise to me that my favorite Power Ranger was not in this movie.
Yeah, and they did film some episodes to kind of bridge the gap using recycled footage of the other episodes and new footage of these new actors. Yeah, go ahead.
But I will say that given how Fox Kids aired things at the time, it wasn't exactly like the best known. And if you missed an episode, or if your syndicated network aired things out of order, which my network always did, it wasn't exactly like you could just go on Wikipedia or something.
Oh yeah, the internet was not what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yes, the internet existed and stuff, but I didn't have it at home. You know? It wasn't like Wikipedia wasn't a thing then. Fan websites were not what they were not what they are now, you know? And so, like, the episodes that I was seeing on TV still had the original cast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to see the movie, and there were different people in the cast. And I never saw the episodes that explained what happened. Just because of the way that my network aired the episodes.
So yes, now we enter 3 new actors to play the Power Rangers. Rocky, our new Red Ranger, played by Steve Cardenas. Adam, our new Black Ranger, played by Johnny Young Botch. And Aisha, our new Yellow Ranger, played by Karen Ashley. And this also rectifies one of the glaring critiques of those original Power Ranger episodes, critiques that are still made to this day. Why did you cast an Asian woman to be the Yellow Ranger and a black man to play the Black Ranger?
Ever since that first casting, they've changed up who plays, what Ranger. And so they've been a little more, a little more thoughtful in kind of who ends up in what suit. The thing is, though, is that I do remember being like, oh, okay, are we going to explain why there's new people? Nope, we're not. Okay, all right.
We're just going to move on.
Just going to move on. Who are these people? Why are they here? We're not just, okay. Because again, as far as I knew in the TV show, there was one set of Power Rangers, and in this movie, there was a different set of Power Rangers.
And then when you get back to the show and they started airing like season 3, and here's are the same actors, now they're just in the show.
Yeah, let's talk about how this movie connects to season 3. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. This movie is not canon to the show in any way. This movie has a completely different storyline to season 3. It's supposed to bridge, the original idea, I think, was that it was supposed to bridge the gap and show how they got the new Megazords and, all that kind of stuff. Because the problem with using the footage from Super Sentai is, as you just said, they changed costumes and mechas and all that kind of stuff every single season, basically. And if you're using it for Power Rangers, you only have a limited amount of footage before the footage from Japan changes costumes and mechas and all that. So you have to explain, why are the costumes different? Why are they using new robots? Why are they, And so this movie was supposed to be like explaining why everything looks different in the show now. And then they just decided to go ahead and film an entire new multi-part start that explained on the show why everything looks different now. And it's a completely different story from this movie. So this movie just exists in its own universe with no connection to the show whatsoever.
Ninjor! I'll take Dulcia over Ninjor any day.
Honestly, after seeing this movie, I stopped watching Power Rangers.
Huh.
I call myself a Power Rangers fan, and it really is. I only watched Power Rangers up through this movie. I was such a big fan of the original group of Power Rangers, and this movie was kind of what did. I was like, nope, my group is gone, and I watched like a couple of episodes of like season 3 or whatever, and I was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, and the problems keep on piling up with this movie. They had to reshoot this movie like 3 times. And of course, the movie went over budget, over time. So what was supposed to be, oh, you're just going to be in the your break between October and December. Oh, okay, now we're extending that into January, into February.
Yeah, the cast was supposed to just film in the break between seasons, and because of the extensive reshoots, they ended up having to film the third season and
second. It was the second half of season 2.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
But they ended up having to film one of the seasons and the movie at the same time because the movie went over schedule by a large amount.
Yeah, so imagine you're filming your footage in the morning, so at least you're only filming half an episode because the rest is reused Japanese footage in the morning, and then at night you got to film the movie with this, both of them kind of using the same amount of physical exertion.
Well, and in the movie, remember, they are doing arguably more because they are not using any extra footage from the Super Sentai series.
Yeah.
So they have to do everything. It requires more. They have to get into the Power Rangers costumes. They have to do more stunts. They have to do, in fact, one of them, I believe it was Amy Jo Johnson, was like almost injured pretty heavily on this film because one of the stunts went wrong, and she was not used to, they were not used to doing, stunts with the actors.
And they really couldn't recast one of the stars of the movie, especially this is supposed. Well, granted, they already recasted 3 of them, but as filming the movie.
Well, they did recast one of the stars of the movie kind of in the middle of the movie because
I was getting to that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Fitzpatrick, who plays Dulcia, the secondary mentor, got hurt very early in her shooting of her scenes. And she was removed from the movie. She couldn't physically do the movie. So they recasted her with Mariska Hargitay, who most people might know from Law and Order SVU. So they refilmed everything with Mariska as Dulcia. There are pictures out there that have her in the costume. And this was going into what was supposed to be the end of the filming. They were going to film up until Christmas and then be done. And then they got the word, oh, we're going to film after, through Christmas, after Christmas, into January. And according to an interview by Mariska Hargitay, she was kind of upset because she had flown to Australia to do the movie. But she didn't. They were going to give them like a week break for the Christmas holiday. And she kind of didn't want to spend Christmas or the holidays alone, because she had flown halfway around the world to do this movie. She didn't want to spend the holidays alone, and they were kind of not really willing to fly any of the cast back to the United States. But she didn't want to spend the holidays alone, so they agreed to send her home. And then they told her not to come back. Apparently, requesting to go home for the holidays while filming the movie during a 1-week break in the schedule was considered problematic on the set, so they told her not to come back. But by this point, Gabrielle Fitzpatrick had healed from her injury, and then they refilmed everything that they filmed with Mariska Hargitay, with Gabrielle Fitzpatrick back as Dulcia. Yeah, this movie has a lot of problems in it. Then there was the monster idea. They had an idea for, the original idea was that Ivan Ooze was going to mutate rats, and the Rangers were going to fight these rat monsters. And I showed Kiki the picture of the rat monsters, because they did end up using them on the show, because, best not waste what you already have. And even for the TV show Power Rangers, that was still below what they had. There was no way, this was not movie quality costume. These were not even Party City quality costumes.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
And they changed them up. We got the Ooze Men and the Tengu Warriors. They were called Tengas in the TV show, but Tengu is what they're actually called in Japanese mythology, so at least they got that right for the movie. Also, the third act of this movie had to be completely refilmed because they had an idea. The director had this idea to retract the visors of the Ranger mask so they could see the actors' faces for the third act climax of the movie. There are pictures out there of the Ranger actors with these see-through helmets with the visors out, and they look terrible. So even though they've already filmed the third act of this movie with the Rangers with their helmets retracted and see the actors' faces, they had to completely refilm that again with the proper helmets, because those retracted helmets just look bad. I don't know if you've seen those pictures or not.
I haven't, but I can already imagine. Like, you just telling me that, I'm like, that would look awful. Just in my head, there's no way that looks good.
So I think that's all the backstory we can get to at this point. So let's talk about who's in this movie. They're the cast of Power Rangers. You know them because they're the cast of Power Rangers. Although a few did have careers afterwards. Let's start with Tommy. Jason David Frank, Tommy the White Ranger. If you know nothing else about Power Rangers, you at least know who Tommy is. For better or worse, he is the most popular Power Ranger of all time. Did some MMA stuff, but mostly is known as Tommy from Power Rangers. As I've mentioned before, Karen Ashley as Aisha the Yellow Ranger, Steve Cardenas as Rocky the Red Ranger. Johnny Young Botch, Adam the Black Ranger, actually has a bit of a career now as a cartoon voice actor. A lot of anime stuff. You probably hear him in the English dub of Trigon, Samurai Champloo, Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Bleach, Gurren Lagann. But for us, the two hosts here, he also was on Mighty Magiswords.
Yay!
As the character Broccoli Punch, a former Power Ranger actor playing a Kamen Rider parody. Oh, Kyle loves him some Tokusatsu. Love you, Kyle.
Yeah.
David Yost, Billy the Blue Ranger, known as Billy the Blue Ranger. Really, the most successful of this cast would be Amy Jo Johnson, Kimberly the Pink Ranger, the first crush of so many young people in the 90s.
Yeah, because she went on to do have parts in like Felicity, then
She did a TV show called Flashpoint, but she was the main character on that.
Yeah. So, there now, she did another one called The Division, which was like a police show that she was in the main cast in that one as well. So, she's had probably the most recognizable career for people who never watched Power Rangers.
Then we got everyone's favorite bullies, Bulk and Skull, Jason Narvi as Skull, and Paul Schreier as Bulk, who himself having a prominent voice acting career these days. But again, he is another one that has been on Mighty Magiswords as a bully character named Flunk, who kind of bullies the warriors every once in a while.
Yeah.
Everything always goes back to bullies, I suppose. We've mentioned Gabrielle Fitzpatrick as Dulcia. She's done a few other movies, mostly known for her role on NYPD Blue as Naomi. So let's get to our villain, Ivan Ooze himself, Paul Freeman. I guess you kind of do need a character actor to play your villain in this kind of thing, and he has a pretty good career of himself. He was in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, he's Belloc.
Yeah.
So we've talked about him before. Yeah, he also showed up in Hot Fuzz, the Simon Pegg movie. He pops up every now and then. I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan, and he's in a infamous Sherlock Holmes movie called Without a Clue, where he played Moriarty. So he's known to the Holmes fandom for that one. Just recently, because he's still working. Just recently, he's been in that TV series that they made from The Man Who Fell to Earth, where he was in an episode of that. I haven't seen it yet, but I just know he was in that. So.
And rounding out our cast is our Saban voice actors who reprised their roles in the movie that they had in the show. Kirigan Mahan as Goldar, Robert Manahan as Zordon, Robert Axelrod as Lord Zed, Barbara Goodson as Rita Repulsa. You mentioned Dragon Ball Z. Barbara Goodson has the distinguished honor of being the first American voice actor for Goku in the original 80s dub of Dragon Ball way back in the day. But she's done a bunch. She's mostly known as a voice actor. She was the voice of Red Fraggle in the animated Fraggle Rock, Song's mother in Avatar: The Last Airbender. She went from playing Evil Space Witch in Power Rangers to playing Evil Space Witch in Star Wars, because she's also the voice of Mother Talzin, aka Darth Maul's mother. So there's that. And last but not least, it would be an insult to myself if I didn't mention him. The best for last. He's credited in this movie as Richard Wood, but you probably know him better as Richard Horvitz. He's the voice of Alpha. He's the voice of Billy on Billy and Mandy, but most people might know him as the voice of Invader Zim!
Yeah. Not the first time we've mentioned him on the show.
Yeah. So let's actually get into the plot of this movie.
Not that there is much of a plot to this movie. This is basically a single episode of Power Rangers stretched beyond its breaking point.
With skydiving, because 90s. So, yeah, the weird crux about this movie is that if you're not paying attention, you kind of forget about Ryan's Comet, which they do bring up a bit in this movie. So the movie starts with our main cast skydiving, and we find out it's a charity event that they're doing this for, to raise money for the observatory, as what they call Ryan's Comet will be passing over the Earth in a few days. But mostly it's like, hey, kids, you want to be cool? These are what cool people do. They skydive. They rollerblade. Aren't these teenagers with attitude cool? But
the 90s were so weird. Looking back with the 2020 hindsight, because it was like
the eyes of a 40-year-old looking back to what we looked at when we were 10.
Yeah, it is like, boy, everybody's gonna be skydiving and everybody's gonna rollerblade everywhere. That's gonna be our lives.
All we needed was bungee jumping for the trifecta.
Yeah, if they'd also gone bungee jumping, that's true. Because he's doing Tommy at least is doing the bit where he's like skydiving with a snowboard.
Yeah.
On his feet, which I never entirely got. Like, I got if you're jumping out of a plane to then jump onto a mountain that is covered in snow. But he's not doing that. He's just jumping out of a plane with that attached to his feet to then land in a park in Sydney, Australia.
They try so hard to make this look like California.
Which is standing in for Angel Grove, which is supposed to be somewhere in California.
Yeah. The famous California monorail.
Yeah.
That's in Disney.
Everybody needs a monorail. Monorail. Yeah, it's just like to make him look extra cool while he's falling out of a plane, I guess. I don't know why.
But this is all to lead up to the villain reveal. Turns out there's a construction site. They're building a new building, and they unearth a egg that contains Ivan Ooze that was buried there 6,000 years ago by Zordon.
He's in an egg. The weirdest thing about it is when, like, Zed and Rita come down and they're looking at the egg, and Rita just, like, shoves her hand in it, and she's like, ew, what is this? And Zed's like, wait for it. And then the goo forms into Ivan, and I'm like, so what did she just stick her hand in? Like, is she just like, here's part of your liver, take it back? Like, like,
if this was a PG-13 movie, he might have been a different part of his body.
Yeah, like, what is on her hand still? Like, does she just have, like, part of him? Like, like, if it's the Orville or whatever, and you do that to Yaphet, he's just like, yeah, whatever, just stick it anywhere, it's fine. Like, but, like, what part of Ivan is that's just like, she just like scooped part of him out before she knew it was a person?
But I do like, at first, Rita tries to make Zed jealous by calling Ooze a real man.
I just have to say something about the Ivan, Zed, Rita trifecta here. I feel so bad for Rita, because, okay, when Power Rangers starts, okay, the first episode is like Rita crawling out of her little trash can, like, finally, after 1,000 years, I'm free, okay.
Uh-huh.
And Rita is like the big bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, it's like Zed shows up and just starts swinging big stick, right?
Yeah.
And then Rita's like, yeah, whatever, Lord Zed, okay, fine. And it's fine, because, like, that's her husband, ? Or whatever. I don't know. I never got the relationship between Rita and Zed. So Rita's, like, second banana now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in this movie, Ivan shows up, and he, Zed's like, get out of my chair or whatever, and Ivan's like, ooh, it tickles, whatever, go in the snow globe. And now Rita's like third banana, and I'm like, Rita, Get your crap together. Why are you letting these men walk over you? You are an absolute boss bee. Come on, girl. Like, step up. What is with this? You were the queen. What is with all these men just coming in and ganking your style? Like, step up. Start doing some assassinations or something. Are you an evil queen or not?
So yeah, they ended up turning her good by the time we hit like.
Oh, that's
season
disgusting. Don't do that. No, no. Like, girl, get yourself an executioner. Start taking back what's yours. Come on.
You want her to go full Hela.
I mean, no, in the end, Hela was kind of like madly ineffective, but come on. I mean, great aesthetics, but wildly ineffective.
Paul Freeman is just chewing the scenery in every scene he's in. Because you kind of got to. It's a Power Rangers movie. You're a Power Rangers villain. That's kind of what you do. You know? As the phrase goes these days, he understood the assignment.
Oh, yes. You wander in, you scream something about horrible teenagers, you scream make my monster grow, and then you get your butt kicked by said teenagers. That's the job.
Yeah. But I must say, the fight scenes are amazing in this movie. The fight scenes with the Rangers fighting the Oozemen, the Rangers fighting the Tangas, the rock monsters, the giant dinosaur skeleton when they get on Phaedos. So the fight scenes are well choreographed and well done. Again, mostly because you have actors who are either professional martial artists or professional gymnasts and actually can do the choreography.
Yeah, this is honestly for the first time really in the entire series, the actors are able to do what they were paid to do. Like, this is kind of why they were cast.
Mm-hmm.
In the show, if you watch the first couple of seasons of the show, they would give them all these really weird setups just to kind of show off what the actors could do. Like, today in Angel Grove, it's the random gymnastics competition. Here, Kimberly, do some gymnastics.
It's the martial arts competition. Here, Tommy, do some martial arts.
Yeah, it would really be like, and today it's just Tommy and Jason having a friendly sparring match in a park for no reason. Oh, look, some putties show up. Yeah, it just, they would constantly write these weird scenes just so they could show off what the actors could do. Otherwise, it would just be random people saying nonsense until we could cut away to the Super Sentai footage. But in this, they were actually able to sort of write a story that allowed the actors to more organically do all that stuff themselves. And the ninja costumes that they gave them on Phaedos allowed them to be able to fight, and you could see their faces a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some of it was, they had to still have the kind of ninja face covering so they could swap in and out for the actual stunt people for the more dangerous wire work and stuff. But it was better because you could actually tell in the close-ups that a lot of it was the real actors. Some of it, though, some of the fight choreography is just beyond silly, and that's when it reaches epic levels of proportion.
But it's still, it fits in the Power Rangers vibe.
Oh, yeah. Possibly my favorite bit of choreography in the whole movie is right at the beginning, the first time they fight the Ooze men, where they're all split up in the quarry, And Ivan leads them there to fight his, like, his version of putties, his little ooze beings. And they're fighting, and Billy punches one of them and realizes that they'll cover you with ooze if you punch them. And he's like, ew. And Kimberly's like, we've got to group up. And she starts doing backflips for no other reason than she's a gymnast and can do backflips. And then Billy goes, right behind you. And he also starts doing backflips for no reason.
Because David Yost is a gymnast.
Because David Yost is also a gymnast. And so the two of them just do backflips through the entire quarry to meet up with the rest of the group for no reason beyond the fact that we have two gymnasts and we want to show them off. And then it ends with the rest of the Power Rangers grouping up as Kimberly and Billy come flipping in. And then it ends with Adam being punched into the frame and rolling from the force of the punch. And my only thought is, well, see, that's what you get when you don't do backflips.
And it leads to, the epic morph scene, because it's Power Rangers. You got to have the morph scene. It's Morphin Time. And the Ooze Men become the smartest minions in the Power Rangers franchise. Because how many times have you asked, hey, while they're transforming and doing their flip and announcing their name and posing, why are the bad guys still just standing there? The Ooze Men actually get it in their brain, oh, let's get out of here.
Yeah, and they like run away to like a car park or something. It's like, what are you doing?
Because you hear, right after they do all the Power Ranger stuff. They morph, they flip, they pose, and then there's Kim. Like, where did they go?
It's like they hold ass. That's where they went. Like,
does not compute.
You're turning into Power Rangers. We're getting out of here.
They're supposed to stay and watch us do our performance. We're not doing it for ourselves. This is a show, dang it. We are putting on a show for these monsters.
But the thing is, though, is that I love how goofy this movie is, but also how much that they constantly take down the tropes they have built in the first two seasons. Which is also hysterical, because even as a kid, like watching this in 95, like I watched this like opening weekend, like there's no way I'm missing this movie, So I was in the theater like right there. Even as a kid, how ridiculous this is, And so to see things like Alpha and Zordon in the command center and them being like, wait, what if Ivan gets in here? And they're like, no, nobody's getting in here without a power coin. Oh, okay, maybe somebody is getting in here without a power coin. Okay,
just oozing right through the door, of course, through the crease in the door. Again, even though these are supposed to be, big high budget, or as high budget as this cheap production is going to get, that they kept some of the tropes like Zordon's mouth not matching up to what his dialogue is. In the TV show, they just filmed the actor once and they just recycled that footage over and over again with the actor doing voiceover over it this time. But to keep the continuity of the show, for some reason, they have Zordon's mouth not being in sync with whatever he's saying. I found that funny that they went to that degree to keep it to keep the little tropes of the show there.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, is that they have those moments of they could show things, but so much of this stuff is, you get used to watching Power Rangers on TV, and so much of the dialogue is ADR. It's recorded afterwards because they're doing it over footage that was filmed in Japan for a completely different TV show. And so they just have the American actors in a booth just saying whatever. In this movie, you can tell that they're doing the same thing, but for footage filmed for this movie, which is very bizarre. Like
The head bobbing in the costumes.
Well, no, it's not even the head bobbing in the costumes. It's for stuff that you could have filmed the faces of the actors for, but they didn't. I don't know whether it was like cheaper B-roll footage that they did of stunt actors and they just thought, well, we'll just dub in something later, or they thought, well, that matches the aesthetic for the show. Either way, it's hilarious because it does make you just feel like you're watching an episode of the show. Like in the opening when they're doing the rollerblading, some of the parts where you just see the rollerblades and you know it's just stunt people doing tricks.
Professional bladers.
Yeah, professional rollerbladers doing tricks off of things. But you hear things like, wow, now I'm gonna catch some air or something. You know, it's like stuff people would never say in real life, but you know that it's just they gave the actors generic lines to dub in later. And you're like, yeah, this is exactly the sort of stuff they would just be saying on the show over random footage from Super Sentai. So it's hilarious that they keep doing that over stuff that you know they filmed for this movie that they could have just done a cutaway to the actor's face
because they do that. They do that for the skydiving scene.
But the thing is, it's a little more difficult to do for the skydiving scenes. But
they do it for the skydiving scenes because there's that scene where they're flipping around in the air, obviously filming the professional skydivers, and then you cut to green screen footage of all the actors looking at it going, yay, we're doing it.
Yeah. It's so bizarre though, the things they do where you're like, you had them there. You don't have to do this. Isn't like you're using footage from 3 years ago from a different TV show spliced in. Like you realize you were filming this movie, right? Like they were 5 feet away from you. Just point a camera at them. Like, but it's weirdly appropriate because it does fit the tone of the show.
Yeah.
The other thing that I loved is, you mentioned that the show started the same year as Jurassic Park, and then we have the bit where they end up on Phaedos and they have the weird dinosaur bone fight where they're all fighting and riding the dinosaur bones. And Billy even makes the joke, or Adam makes the joke about welcome to Jurassic Park, and Billy's like, stop it,
breaking the cardinal rule of mentioning a better movie in your movie.
Yeah, that's the Mystery Science Theater rule. Don't mention a better movie in the middle of your crappy movie. But the thing that annoys me is that Jurassic Park was 2 years before this movie comes out, and these are the special effects we get in this movie.
Because they're doing this on the cheap. I mean,
but there are video games that came out at this time that had better graphics than this movie. Even at the time this movie came out, sitting in the theater watching this movie, I was embarrassed for this movie. I was like, oh my God, this is the movie you put out?
I was going to mention this, but yeah, this movie has, for the practical effects that they use for this movie, including the monster costumes and wire work, and like you said, the fight against the dinosaur skeleton, that our finale is these ugly CG monstrosities that looked bad on a PlayStation. Like I said, this came out a few years right after Jurassic Park. Look at the dinosaurs, the CG dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, compared to the ectomorphicon monsters in this movie and the Megazord.
And the thing is that the weird thing is that on the show, when they use the footage from Super Sentai,
it's a dude in a suit.
It's a dude in a suit, and it looks good.
Yeah.
Like, just do that. on a big screen. And yeah, it'll look cheesy, but it'll look better than whatever, like, weird PS1 graphics you've got going on here, you know? And even at the time, like, yeah, we're looking back on it, you know, current year 2022, but you look back at the CGI in Jurassic Park, which was created 2 years beforehand, and it still holds up. Like, yes, you can tell it's not as good as the graphics now, but it's still good graphics, and it still holds up, and you can say, yes, it's an earlier model, but it's fine. And the stuff that's practical effects looks incredible to this day. And what's so funny is the few times that they use practical effects in this film, it looks good. Like the dinosaur bone fight, that still holds up. The stuff where they're actually fighting men in suits, like, again, the Phaedos stuff, that stuff looks pretty good.
Yeah,
the Tengu monsters look pretty good. I mean, they look goofy, but they look Power Rangers. They look in that same kind of Super Sentai kind of vibe, which the audience is already willing to buy.
And the rock, like you said, the rock monster fights against those 4 rock monsters, that's actually well choreographed, and the suits look good.
The Ivan Ooze makeup, the Lord Zed makeup, looks pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's all practical effects, and it's, you know, a dude in a suit, and some of it looks cheesy. Goldar looks fairly okay. Mordant looks less so. But
good to see Pudgy Pig lost weight.
But it's fine.
He looks fine. I mean, granted, it's a character for this movie, but he looks fine. I mean, this is a few years after that first Ninja Turtle movie, and this doesn't look that far off from that.
He would have looked better if they'd have put some animatronics in the face. I think that the reason Mordant doesn't look that great is because the face doesn't really move.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously talking, but his mouth isn't moving.
Yeah, if you had bothered to put some animatronics in that face, that suit looks a lot better.
Which fits in with the original show, because the mouths didn't move in the monster mouths didn't move in the original show, which is fine. But, you know, again, this is 5 years after the first Ninja Turtle movie, put some animatronics in the heads of these monsters, have them speak, have their mouths. It doesn't have to be lip flap, Henson Creature Shop level worthy, but at least have their mouths open and closed. Disney does this now with their suit actors in their parks.
Yeah, give them some eye blinks or something occasionally. Yeah. It's fine. You know, it doesn't. It's a kids movie. We understand it's made on the cheap. We understand it's Power Rangers. If you're already watching this movie, you're willing to accept that.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, dudes in suits for the final battle would have been way better than trying to do whatever weird pseudo CGI, you know, stuff they did.
And it doesn't even look like the toy, which is the guy in the suit that you see in the show. So Power Rangers' entire thing is sell toys. You're either selling toys of the Rangers, you're selling toys of the monsters, or you're selling toys of the Megazord. You can't really sell a toy that looks like that CG model.
Yeah, and let's talk about their transitions to their new animals that they get.
The sacred animals of the Ninjetti tribe, which so happens to also be their animal spirits.
Yeah, the funniest thing to me is, okay, so they're locked into which animals they have to use, because they have to use the robots that are used on Super Sentai.
Yeah.
because we have to use this footage in the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we can change this because we're stuck with this color scheme and these robots that are used in the Japanese show we're pulling most of our footage from. I get it.
And they do their best to try and make it look to make it work with the characters. Like Kimberly's a gymnast, so she's agile, so a crane can work. Billy's the smart one, cunning, so the wolf works. Rocky is supposed to be the strong one, so the ape works.
Yeah.
They try their best to make the animals work with the characters already established.
Yeah. And then we get the joke of the movie where she gets to Adam and she's like, Adam, why do you look so sad? And he's like, I'm a frog.
That's an ad lib.
Yeah.
No, Johnny Young Boss even said it. That was an ad lib, and the director kept it in because it was funny.
And it's hilarious, but the thing is that her reply is, yes, like the one you kissed to get a prince. And then they move on because they can't think of anything for a frog. Because the real story is you're a frog because we built this entire show around stolen Japanese footage. Sorry, dude, you're gonna have to be a frog. And we didn't put any more thought into it than that. Which I love. They put so much thought into why everybody else is like, oh, Crane, cranes are agile and you're a gymnast, and yes, and wolves are cunning and you're the smart one, and frog, crap. What can we do with a frog? Frogs suck. Like, you don't even get anything like frogs eat mosquitoes. Like, you can't think of any good thing about a frog. Like,
frog prince. Let's go with that.
Like,
are you calling Adam ugly? Dulcia, are you calling Adam ugly?
And you know that, like, from that moment on, Adam's like, she couldn't think of anything better than that.
I mean, yeah.
And then I love how after that she just turns into Jareth.
I was gonna go like Sorceress from He-Man, how the Sorceress turns into a falcon. So she turns into an owl. She turns
into a barn owl. She literally turns into the same type of owl as Jareth in Labyrinth. And the funniest thing later is like when they finally get the great power, which is just you get your same suits back, except now they have different animal coins on them. Which I kind of hated because I really loved those ninja suits. Still to this day, I want one of those ninja suits.
They just released action figures of those ninja suits.
They are so cool. But what I noticed in this rewatch that I don't think I ever noticed before is when they're like flying back off planet, they're like, our morphers are online. Let's go save Zordon. And they're flying off the planet, and they go back and they, go to her in her owl form, and she's like, good luck, Rangers. The owl still has like tags on its feet from like the handler.
Oh, so I never noticed that.
Yeah, if you go back and notice like the tags that captive owls have to show that the owl still has that, like they never like, digitally removed them or actually removed them for the shot. Like, so you can tell it's a captive owl. So I'm like, where's Dulcia's handler? It's so funny.
And then Dulcia owl flies off, so off screen the handler is just holding up the gloved hand.
Yeah. The funniest thing though is I love how for years I've always been wondering, like, where does Zordon's body go?
in the tube.
Yeah, in the tube.
In the show, it's explained that Rita put Zordon in a time warp, so he's technically not even on our plane of existence because his body exists in a time warp. He can only communicate by broadcasting his head into the tube. You can't really do that and have it be because they kind of done that in the show of the tube's been destroyed and we can't contact Zordon. That Zordon's been the signal's been lost. So they had to up the stakes in this movie by breaking the tube, and then here's this limbless Zordon just lying in the bottom of this tube.
Well, but the thing is, like, you know, the whole command center gets destroyed and everything, and then all of a sudden there's just, like, Emperor Palpatine Zordon just lying there like, Rangers, I'm dying. Go find a great power.
Easiest paycheck this actor ever did, just lying in there acting with old man makeup, acting like he's dying. Nicholas Bell is the actor they got for those scenes.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, they do the thing of, you know, they come back and they have to fight, and they're like, yay, we got new Zords, and they get their Zords, and we've got the thing of, like, they're all coming in, they all look cool, and then Adam Zord comes in, like, ribbit.
Ribbit.
Yeah. That ribbit in the theater, I remember that so clear as they're, like, coming in, and there's all these little kids, they're like, yay, new Zords!
Because they play, like, the
ribbit.
They play this
the whole theater just burst into laughter. And then Aisha comes in after, like, roar, and everybody's like, yay, but seriously, ribbit?
Because they're playing this heroic music over it as the Zords are flying in from wherever. I guess they're flying in from Phaedos itself. Who knows? Yeah, the ribbit.
Yeah, that little ribbit right there, just the whole theater, just, you know, it's just like a bunch of kids who are, like, super psyched about new Zords, and it's like, ribbit. They're like, not you!
Oh, Frog Zord, what can you do? I become legs.
The thing is, though, is that let's back up just for half a second and talk about Ivan's plan, which is to control the world via slime.
Yeah, ooze. Ivan's ooze, which is, you know, you remember Gak.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, you don't have to remember Gak, because slime has come back recently in just the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's been the big thing for kids over the last couple of years. I think it's not, I think it faded out again. But just before the pandemic, that was like the biggest thing. Stores couldn't keep glue in stock.
Yeah, I'm so glad I never got into that during the 90s when that was the big craze. But the poor parents that had to wash that stuff all off their couches and carpets and stuff.
I had some of it. I had some Gak. I had some Floam. I had some, you know, I mean, but I mean, I didn't have a lot of it. You know, I tried like one of each.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And it was all right. But the thing is, like, it gets dirty real quick, especially the slime stuff. Like, the second it touches anything with dust, it, like, I mean, you know, it's like
silly putty.
Yeah, it's like silly putty. Like, silly putty is really fun. And the second it touches any kind of dirt, it's like, well, it just lives in your silly putty now, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing. But the most unrealistic thing to me is when he's like, hey kids, don't you want free slime? And one of the kids goes, I don't know, it looks kind of gross. And the kid's like, yeah. And I'm like, had the writer of this movie ever met a child? Like, hey kid, do you want free slime? Yes, I want all of the free slime. That's immediate. Like, I'm not saying there's not a kid that would be like, ew, that looks gross. But like, in general, it's like, hey, do you want something that's slimy and sticky and you play with it and that's all it does? Like, most kids are gonna go like, wow, that looks slimy and sticky and you're giving it to me for free? Yes, please.
I mean, most kids are using that to make fart noises.
Yeah, I mean, immediately they'd be like, what do you do with it? Well, it's slimy and sticky and you could throw it at your friends and it'll make them slimy and sticky. And also it makes fart noises if you like jam your hand into it like this. Like, okay, yeah, that's all I want in life. Like, to gross other people out and make fart noises. Like, yeah, that's kind of just most kids.
Yeah, so you get Paul Freeman in this D&D wizard outfit handing out bottles of this ooze to kids.
Yeah, and then he's like, go home and show it to your parents, and if they don't like it, throw it at them. And they're like, yeah.
So yeah, it even says on the bottle, safe for kids, adults beware. So we have ooze that is safe for a child to touch, but once an adult touches it, he becomes a mindless servant of Ivan Ooze. How does the ooze know what is a child and what is an adult? Is there some sort of age to decide? Because Bulk and Skull are clearly supposed to be the same age as the Power Rangers, and they are on the older side of the teenage spectrum. Yet the ooze doesn't affect them.
Do we ever see them touching the ooze? Because I don't remember seeing them, like, playing with the ooze or touching the ooze.
They're hanging around with these two older teenagers are hanging out with a bunch of children playing with ooze. Sure, that's not going to raise any questions.
But what I'm saying is, like, we do see that, like, you have to handle the stuff that's in the jar, because we see, like, how it impacts the
father.
The father, like, he picks up the jar and looks at it and he's like, what is this stuff? And it doesn't do anything to him until he opens it up and physically touches it.
Yeah.
And it might just have, like, a thing of, like, because in watching this movie, I'm like, well, what about, like, people that don't have kids, or
oh yeah, like, he specifically says the parents of Angel Grove. So maybe because Bulk and Skull don't have any children, it doesn't affect them. If you're an adult, if you're a single childless adult, you can touch Ivan Ooze and you'll be fine.
Well, or I'm just wondering, like, what happened to all the other adults?
Are all adults in Angel Grove parents?
Or maybe if, like, maybe he gave them a command to, like, go out and infect other adults, like, take the ooze and, like, hand it to other adults or throw it at other adults.
He may not have needed to, because he said he gave at least one bottle of ooze to every kid he saw. And then they take it home and then they show it to the parents.
But what I'm saying is, like, a strange kid comes up to me and goes like, here, you want some slime? I'm going to be like, no, child. Please go away.
And then then they're going to throw it in your face because Ivan Ooze said so.
Maybe. But I'm pretty good at dodge. I have a high dodge score.
Your hair's already purple. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah,
Ivan Ooze is for someone who's supposed to be this 6,000-year-old root of all evil kind of character, he follows proper safety protocols because all of the adults are wearing hard hats. Some are even wearing vests as they dig up the ectomorphicons and work in the factory and everything.
Yeah, I found that hilarious too. I'm like, he's really worried about OSHA in Angel Grove. Like,
yeah.
The other thing is I love that from inside his egg, buried deep underground in Angel Grove, he was apparently able to keep track of human history.
Oh, the things I have missed. I love that scene.
Yeah.
The Black Plague, the Spanish Inquisition, the Brady Bunch reunion.
I love that his 3 evils that he has missed were the Black Plague, the Spanish Inquisition, and the Brady Bunch reunion.
The Brady Bunch reunion wasn't that bad.
I mean, yeah.
The series that followed it was
The series that preceded it also was.
Hey.
The
He could have said the Gilligan's Island reunion.
the thing is that,
which is and I got one more funny, because wouldn't like a year or two after this movie come out, we would actually get the Brady Bunch movie?
Yeah. But he also seems just very up to date on everything, through his use of slang and,
Where's my autograph book?
Yeah.
It's the Robin Williams genie effect.
It really is. Except
there's
at least a little bit of understanding in the genie, because the genie is supposed to be all powerful. Ivan less so. But we finally get to the bit where they have to come back and fight Ivan, using their new Zords, and Ivan is like, well, I've got my ectomorphic coolers or whatever dumb thing he's got.
Your giant robots versus my giant robots.
Yeah. And he's ordered all the parents to leap to their deaths. So the kids have to go save their parents, and the Rangers have to beat the giant robots. The thing is that Ivan does the thing where now he is growing big. So now Ivan's giant, and he's got giant robots.
Giant CG Ivan Ooze / robot mantis.
Yeah. But
why a mantis and a scorpion? But sure, why not?
Most of the last part of the movie is just the big fight scene. It's not really a lot of plot, but
it's a Megazord fight.
Yeah, it's just a really long Megazord fight.
Now, granted, most Megazord fights in the show are like 1 or 2 minutes, and half of that is the Zords coming together.
The thing that's different about this one, though, is it finally does bring back that Chekhov's comet, with them realizing that if they take giant Ivan up into space, they can throw him at the comet, or throw the comet at him, or,
because
however.
Ivan is kicking their ass.
Yeah, they're not doing well in this fight, so this is their last...
powers, brand new Zords, and the Power Sword is destroyed 5 minutes into the fight. Like, he's beating their ass. He is punching them like they're a jobber at a preliminary pro wrestling match.
Yeah. But we do get the one kind of interesting thing, which is that as they're flying him up into space, they fly him past the moon, and you see Rita and Zed trapped in the little snow globe, being like, you know what? We hate the Power Rangers, but they're fighting Ivan, so go Power Rangers!
We hate the Power Rangers, but we hate Ivan more.
Yeah. And this is one of the weirdest jokes, in all of Power Rangers history, I think, which is Aisha hitting the brake for the brake glass for emergency thing, and discovering that it triggers a knee to the tenders of your opponent.
So Ivan Ooze, despite having merged with a robot, still has balls.
Or whatever Ivan has in that particular spot. Something tender to kick.
A crotch hit still hurts Ivan. That's a joke for the adults, I assume. You
it's
never
just
see that
weird,
in the...
like why is there a break glass for emergency button that's just a swift upper knee?
Yeah. Because Power Rangers. Because Power Rangers. That's my answer to everything. Why does this happen? Because Power Rangers.
Okay. But that's what finally breaks his hold on them and knocks him into the comet, and the comet hits him and destroys him, and whatever.
Yeah, the bad guy is destroyed. Everything goes back to normal because that's how it works in Power Rangers. Once the monster is destroyed, anything he does is instantly reversed.
Yeah. Including, I guess, all the buildings that get destroyed, because it's the only way to figure out why Angel Grove is not constantly just a pile of rubble.
The rent must be really cheap in Angel Grove. It's like, New York and Marvel. The rent must be really cheap with the amount of attacks that happen in it.
Yeah. Then we get them back in the control room, and they're like, Zordon, we killed the monster. Yay, Ivan's dead. We smashed him with a comet.
I'm sorry, Rangers, you're too late. Zordon's dead.
And then we get possibly the weirdest and dumbest thing in this whole weird and dumb movie, which is Tommy going, remember, if you have the great power, anything is possible, including apparently reversing time and raising the dead.
That's what Dulcia told him, that if you have the great power, you can do anything. And they really took that literally. You can do anything. So they use their power, they fix the command center, and they bring Zordon back to life. Maybe that's how the buildings get fixed in Angel Grove. All the Power Rangers just stand in a circle around the building, and they use the great power to fix it.
Yeah, it's the creepiest thing in the world to me, because I'm like, are you gods now? Like, what is this? This has some creepy implications.
But you'll lose the power in a year when we have new toys to sell.
Yeah. Then of course we get our yay, everything is back to normal scene, and they're all eating just the most insane amount of seafood. They really are. Like, look at what they're eating in that last scene. That is like so much expensive seafood. Who are these kids?
Where did they get the money to afford all of that?
I guess with the great power, you also get an unlimited credit card. Sure. Wow, that is an intense amount of seafood. And, they joke with the little kid that has been throughout this movie that he's going to be the
Power Ranger
Power
one day.
Ranger. I'm going to be the Silver Ranger. No, the Gold Ranger. I'm going to be king of all the Rangers. You will bow before me.
While fireworks go off and Van Halen plays.
Yeah. And then Bulk and Skull are really mad because everybody's thanking the Power Rangers, but they really did everything. We saved the city.
We turned down the water pump. We turned down the water pump that the kid used to stop parents from jumping off the cliff. Don't we get some credit?
I mean, for once, I do slightly agree with Bulk and Skull. I mean, thank you for, helping save the parents. You actually did something.
Yeah.
Usually in the show, when they're like, hey, we did things, they actually didn't. But in the movie, they actually did. This is like the one time I agree with them, because they were actually useful in this movie. They do indeed deserve some credit.
Ugh.
And we do get a little mid-credit scene
yeah.
where Goldar tries to take over the throne because everybody's either in a snow globe or smashed by a comet. And he's like, "Yay, King Goldar!" And then Rita and Zed show up, and they're like, "Excuse me?"
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Which is a thing I thought was made for this movie, because it was the only context I had for that song, but apparently it was like a really big hit in like England or something, and they just brought it over and used it for this movie because they thought it was going to be a big hit over here, and it was not, because everybody in America just remembers it as the song in the Power Rangers movie.
Because, yeah, they made a brand new music video for the American audience with featured footage from the movie. They had the Alpha 5 costume from the movie in the music video. You know, because Power Rangers, who are supposed to help people and do the right thing, and here's the song about these two girls in England singing about stealing a car because they missed the night bus.
Yeah, I actually went and watched the original music video that they made for it, and I hate to say it, but just putting random clips from the Power Rangers movie together made a better music video than their original music video, because if you listen to the lyrics of the song, it's supposed to be like they were at a party and they missed their curfew, and so when they get home, their parents are going to kill them because they missed their curfew, and oh no, they're going to be in trouble, and they're going to get grounded, and they're going to lose all their privileges and stuff, and it's supposed to just be them trying to figure out ways to get home before their parents,
and one of these involves stealing a car.
Yeah, and then they get caught by the cops, and then it keeps escalating. The music video has these two girls looking so bored. Like, the lyrics to the song are supposed to be like, holy crap, our parents are going to beat our butts because we have like stayed out and stolen a car and the cops chased us. We are going to be grounded until we are 35. The way the girls look in the music video are like, yeah, so like we stole a car and we should probably get home at some point, but uh-oh, we're in trouble. Like their facial expressions do not give the gravity of this situation at all. So the Power Rangers video actually kind of looks a little more animated than what their original video looks. Because I know they're trying to be cool or whatever, like they're trying to give that aesthetic, but what it just gives, like, we do not give a crap, like we're not bothered by this situation whatsoever.
I mean, the soundtrack itself, the music in this movie, I actually own the CD soundtrack of it still to this day. And like the number of artists they got to do, like they have Red Hot Chili Peppers doing a song for this movie, a cover of Higher Ground. Devo is doing a song in this movie, Are You Ready? Which makes a great fight song. Of course, it's Power Rangers, so I've got the power.
Yeah.
Van Halen's Dreams, Dan Hartman, a song from the 70s, Free Ride. While they're nothing says rollerblading is cool than like a song from the 70s. And the one that really got me, They Might Be Giants. Sense Around is in this movie. It's played for like 5 seconds in like the dad's car when he comes home. But
Dad has excellent taste in music.
Yeah.
But, of course, we have to talk about the biggest banger from this movie.
The Power Rangers theme itself?
Well, no. I mean, that's always going to be a banger, but...
Power
Alpha song!
Yeah. Alpha song!
That is the biggest banger.
That should have been the single.
Yeah.
At least Power Jet, who does the song, actually sounds like they've actually watched the show.
Yeah, that the lyrics to that song are amazing.
Like
it actually knows what they're talking about.
The Zords have been destroyed. Rita is wrecking the place. We have a plan, but we need you to help us, Alpha. Ay. That is the gist of the song.
Yeah, and
it's a Power Ranger episode in song form.
It's so good. And you cannot skip the credits of this movie because that song is playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a great song. Love it. Love it to this day. I sang it all the time as a kid, and it's so good. You put on that song, I will dance. So yeah, the soundtrack to this movie is better than the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
And of course, there's a slightly remixed version of Kung Fu Fighting.
Cause yeah, Kung Fu, yeah, why not? But yeah, that the version of the Power Rangers theme in this movie it's still my favorite version of the theme. It has that epic feel to it, especially when you're seeing the Rangers morphing and the Megazord coming together.
Yeah.
Power Rangers would continue for many years after this, all on the Fox network, all the way until 2001 with Power Rangers Time Force, at which Saban Productions was sold to Disney. And Disney produced several series after that, starting with 2002's Power Rangers Wild Force, all the way until 2009's Power Rangers RPM, which then they sold the franchise back to Saban. Gee, what else did Disney buy in 2009 that would make them not want their superhero franchise anymore? Gee, I wonder what. Yeah, Disney bought Marvel. So Marvel is both the reason we kind of have Power Rangers and the reason Disney sold Power Rangers. Saban did bring back Power Rangers 2011 with Power Rangers Samurai. By 2018, Power Rangers Dino Charge. Saban had sold the franchise again to its current owner, Hasbro. Which is why I'm still kind of confused who actually owns this movie. Does Saban own this movie? Does Fox own this movie? Does Disney own this movie? Does Hasbro own this movie? I don't know. But it's time to ask the question, Kiki. Does Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, have the magic?
I'm gonna say no. Watching this back as an adult, I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing that this really, it's part of my childhood. I appreciate that it was part of my childhood. I still get hyped for parts of it, but no. It's a nostalgia hit, and that's it.
I'm actually going to say yes, because the nostalgia hit is one thing, but this is, at least for me, it's in the category of so bad it's good. It gets so far out of left field that it turns around and comes back, and it's actually entertaining. I put this on the same level as I would put like the Masters of the Universe movie, the Super Mario movie, the Street Fighter movie, in that so bad it's good category. At least for me. Our opinions may differ, and that's fine, but for me, there's still something here. I'll say magic. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it just kind of, in a lot of places, it just kind of left me bored.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So let's move on to next week. Kiki, it's time to go back to school. It seems like that happens earlier and earlier every year. We're also going to go back into another Shakespearean adaptation. 10 Things I Hate About You. Another 90s movie.
Yeah, 90s teen romance comedy. It was a big one for a lot of us back in the day.
Yeah. Young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a young Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, which was like everywhere in the 90s.
Yeah. So we'll see how that one holds up next week.
Yeah. And so come back for next week for 10 Things I Hate About You. And I'm going to take a different route to end this one. I'm going to take one of Zordon's lines, and I'm going to close out with, "Let the power protect you." Bye.
Bye. If you want to help the fight for human rights in the U.S., the American Civil Liberties Union works to protect constitutional rights for all Americans. Their website is aclu.org. If you need reproductive services in the U.S. or wish to donate to those who do, go to abortionfunds.org for more info. The battle isn't over until the last person surrenders. The fight continues. Don't let the magic stop here.
Join our conversation online on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic.
Twitter at Rewatch the Magic.
And of course, new episodes every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com.
Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.